live. How you been, Tyler?
What's up, man? I haven't seen you since the pandemic thing happened.
It's like a literal year, right? It's been actually all of 2020.
Yep. I
And
haven't
then-
seen you since 2019.
That's crazy. Well, we've seen each other virtually a lot,
Yeah,
right? And this
lots of
I think this is our third episode? Fourth?
Third or fourth.
Fourth, yeah. There's just still so much to talk about what we're even doing right now relating to medicine. So, like, what are you doing, Tyler? What are you up to right now?
Well, like you, I'm
Yeah.
applying to medical school,
Yeah.
which is tons of fun. It definitely keeps us busy.
Yeah,
It is a full-time job.
it is.
You know, what's funny was I was talking to someone the other day that's applying to Oxford in the UK
Yeah.
for medical school, and of course they apply right out of high school.
Right.
And she was like, "Yeah, I spent like a whole weekend on medical school."
Wow.
applications." I was like, "You have to be kidding me!"
A whole weekend.
A whole weekend.
Dang,
Spent
that's
like a month at least at this point.
that's too bad. Oh my gosh.
How are you doing?
I've been doing good. I've been okay. It's like you have so much motivation through all your years of your pre-med journey, right? Like taking all these classes, taking the MCAT, doing all your extracurriculars, whatever, and crafting your story. And then when it's finally time to tell it, you're like lazy. You're tired. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's like your motivation drops, I feel like, at the worst possible time for it to drop. I don't know if you felt the same way as well. But it's just like a weird feeling because it's like technically the most important part of all of it, right? It's like
Yeah.
telling your story about your experiences and writing about it is so important. But it's just something I don't enjoy very much and takes a lot of time.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a long time, man.
Yep. So in the whole process, it's July 12th as we're recording this.
Yep.
You could have submitted 14 days ago. That was the earliest that any pre-med
Mhm.
could submit, right? Submit your AMCAS primary application.
Right.
And so that means that when were you verified?
I was verified, I want to say, so I submitted on the June 4th or something. I can't remember
Yeah.
the exact day I was verified, but I think it was, like, the first verification day was like a Friday.
Yeah.
And then I was verified on the next Tuesday, I think. So a
Right.
couple days after that. And it's like, as soon as you get verified, which basically getting verified means is where, like, your AMCAS or the AAMC will read through your entire application, make sure your transcript has, like, of course, like, no issues or anything, and you didn't, like, put down A's for everything when you actually got, like, not A's and everything and stuff like that. Or you accidentally put something down. So after that process is finished, then they submit it to the individual med schools themselves, and then they send you, like, more questions to answer. And so that's the stage we're at right now, is finishing, like, the school specific questions, and there is some overlap, thankfully, but sometimes there's not, and so those schools can get annoying. But
Yeah. So the secondary applications, the essays that each individual school sends to you.
Mhm.
When I was kind of preparing for this process, people
Yeah.
said, "Oh no, there's like a lot of overlap." But
Yeah.
I started looking at these essays, and I've been surprised by how little overlap there is.
yeah.
Like, just in our North Carolina schools,
Yeah.
Duke. Jeez,
Oh, gosh,
come
yeah.
on, Duke. You're killing me.
Yeah, they do. Duke, for those that aren't applying right now, Duke is doing, how many is it 9? It's 9, right?
And one optional.
One optional, and each one of them is like 500 words, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's-
incredible.
It's insane. A lot of people I hear, like, they say, like, write that one first because you get a lot of material out of that one. But like you said,
Yeah.
there's still not too much overlap.
I've done like 7 of them.
Yeah.
And there's just a couple that are just, it's so hard to put stuff down.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to, like, articulate something that's
Yeah.
so long. It's not an event that happened in your life. These questions
Right.
are about your whole motivation to medicine.
Right.
So
It's
for the younger pre-meds, think about, like,
yeah.
journaling.
Yeah.
Journaling is actually a really good idea.
I think journaling is one of those things that you think is, like, super, like, I don't want to say cliche, but it's, like, super, like, you don't see the value in it in the moment. You're like, I already have these experiences in my thought. But then when you put it down on paper, it's like, it's just completely different because you're kind of gathering your thoughts together. And thinking back on it now, like, I wish I had done something like that. And
Yeah.
people, the thing is, like, the funny thing too is, like, people give you advice. Like, for me, for example, I remember, like, my freshman year, people were giving me advice like, make sure you talk to your professors and make sure that you get close to them. And I was like, oh, cool, okay, I'll do that. And then I end up not doing it. And so all this advice that people give me, like sometimes I don't follow through with it. And journaling was one of those things. And, you know, standing at the process right now is one of those things I wish that, you know, I had done. But yeah, for everyone that's applying, definitely apply or definitely journal because it helps so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember getting that that advice as like a freshman.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was some pre-med conference or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, keep a journal.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got enough work. Like, I'll remember what happened.
Yeah.
And then here I am trying to write about a patient encounter I had.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which hospital it was at or what year it was.
Right.
I'm like, because after 3
It's
years
just like
and 50 other clinical experiences.
Yeah. Like, how do you remember it?
Yeah, and I can't even remember where this happened.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to write about it if I don't even know where it happened? So
Exactly. So
it's worth keeping a journal, probably.
It definitely is, and it lets you reflect in the moment because, like, you know, 3 years later, you don't really remember exactly what your takeaway might have been, and it sucks in that way. And it's like interesting because when you're applying to, like, there's that big show don't tell concept where like you don't want to just tell them about what you're gonna do because anyone can do that. But you want to like write a story about, like you said, a patient encounter, and it's hard to remember those things if you didn't write them down. But that's what I've realized too. Like it's kind of like you're telling a bunch of short stories in your application, right? It's like not even necessarily like, yeah, you want to talk about what you want to do, but most of your word count gets eaten up by telling stories about your interactions with things that then demonstrate like what you've said, and journaling helps you a lot with that because you can just pull from your journaling from before. So
yeah, writing stories does really kill. Like it helps you get through essays for sure. I mean, I remember first looking at Duke and I was like, 500 words, like how am I gonna write 500 words about this thing? Like that's a sizable essay when you have to do 8 or 9 of them. And that, you know, a couple hours later, I'm like, how do I keep this under 1,000 words? Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like, once you start telling stories, that can be a really quick way to get through an essay, and then you can sort of cut down and get across the message of who you are and what you're trying to do.
Exactly. And, like, it's crazy how important it is to be a good writer. Not necessarily only a good writer, but, like, a reflective writer. Yeah. I'm sure lots of pre-meds going through it, like myself, for sure, and maybe even yourself, like, we're good at writing like reports, writing you know, scientific, like it's like, oh, you give me a prompt on something like that's not about me, I'm gonna kill it, like I can do whatever. But then it's like as soon as it turns into like a story about yourself, you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to write about. It's just like it's a big I don't know, weakness for some people, but strength for others, right? Like some people, while their experiences might not be like, you know, crazy compared to someone else, if they can write about it and to explain a takeaway, like it's way more valuable than someone that just like lists their whatever more I guess prestigious experience was, if you can't like take away from it well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's applications, man. It's a
lot.
It is.
I think the most important thing I wish I had known from this whole application is to get your transcripts in.
Oh yeah.
Really early.
Yeah.
Like I remember listening to a well-known pre-med podcaster say something like, the first thing you need to do before you apply is get all your transcripts together. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And like, it was like June 25th. And I'm like, okay. You know, it's a couple weeks till the primary application, but that should be enough. And it wasn't. I thought it would take 3 days. It didn't work out like that. I made some mistakes. Yeah. You know, with... there's a lot of numbers to enter in. Exactly, right? Like you miss one, and then you're a week behind. Exactly. And so now, I'm not even verified yet, even though you were verified 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and you submitted before me, like you turned in your application before me, but since that one thing was missing, it's just like pushed you back. And it's like I think that's also the thing that people don't talk about as much, as like those technicalities that like really can kill you and things like that. But. Oh, I'm so terrified about the verification process. Yeah. Like, I don't really know how it works. Yeah. I haven't found anyone that seems to. Yeah. But, like, if I entered in one grade, like an A- as an A or something like that, like, are they going to fix it, or am I going to get it returned? application.
Yeah, that's good, because I don't know. Yeah, sometimes they do. Like the one return I've heard, like in terms of someone returning an application, is like someone studied abroad, and they only listed like their institution transcript, like their undergrad institution, because those credits transferred over into that transcript.
Right.
But since it was multiple courses, they're like, we need to see the actual transcript from your foreign institution, not just like the courses transferred in. So like, it's different. And then for me, like when I studied abroad, I had one course that kind of transfer over, but like for me, there were no issues. And so it's like, does it even like, maybe it's like even dependent on who's reviewing or who's like checking your transcript. Like, no one knows, man. And I think, dude, like honestly, that is probably the most stressful part of this whole process is like how many variables are in it, and like how unpredictable and like unsure you can be about so many different things.
Yeah, it's a machine with so many pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
So many pieces.
Yeah.
What's killing me is like, so I'm a transfer student, so I did half my undergrad at one place and half my undergrad at another place. So when my classes transferred over, they didn't come with course names on my transcript. They just came with biology this, biology this, biology this. And I've actually been to 3 institutions, including the one we're inside. So and all the classes that I took here all had the same exact name. So I had to do the exact same thing 3 times. And so I contacted my pre-med advisor to get advice. She's basically like, I don't know. Yeah. No one really knows how this works. And then, of course, you'd say, okay, we'll just contact the AAMC, which, as we've come to find out, is totally impossible. Yeah, yeah. No, did I tell you about when I did tell you, right, when I called him? I've called them dozens of times. And it goes like, it's like, our call volume is extremely high. Please call again later. And no, because I remember I called before, like, they started the verification process, and then they, like, did a callback, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, I'm glad that they're doing this. Yeah. But then as that call volume goes up, it's like, they just can't anymore. They didn't offer me a callback. I had questions about my transcript, so I called the AAMC. Yeah. And as you've also found out, that's not as helpful as you might. Yeah. When I called the AAMC, they basically said, they put you through, if you want this, press 1. If you want this, press 2. Yeah. For a couple minutes, and then you enter in your AAMC ID. Yeah. Like, okay, once I get through this, I'll be sent directly to a person, and then a call comes up and it says, sorry, our call volume's too high. Yeah, exactly. Try again later. Yeah. And I tried at 8 p.m. I tried at midnight. I tried at 5 in the afternoon. I've tried every time point. Yeah. All you get is just call. And it's like you get angry at the AAMC, but you're also like, they legit are processing so many applications and have to deal with so many people that it's like, what else? What is the solution, right? Like, what could they potentially do? And you would think like maybe they would add more people to call or something, but I don't know. Like it's such a big process in the sense like there's so many people doing it that it's like I feel like there are so many things that need to be improved to fix it, right? And you can't blame any particular institution or any single body, but like for example secondaries and I'm sure you felt this too. So like basically you submit all your medical school stuff right through your primary application through the AAMC, and they submit it to all your universities. Then the university will send you an email with their own application portal separate from your AAMC login. So some universities have this like kind of built in, like this partnership with the AAMC, so you can like log in through like a AAMC like portal, so then you can just log in with your same information. But then at the same time, it still requires you to re-input a lot of stuff. And like now you have to keep track of like multiple logins and like different you have to like upload like headshots and stuff and like for that as well. And so there's still like these commonalities that I feel like, why can't you just implement the secondary into like the same exact portal? You know what I mean? So like you log into your primary and you're like, oh, this school has a secondary already. Let me just fill it out here. And I don't know why it doesn't do that. And hopefully they might later. But you know what I mean? There are several inconsistencies. Yeah. And I don't blame the AAMC for anything. I'm sure they're working like crazy over there. But like the verification process, they're basically comparing what we've entered in. This is my understanding of it anyway. Yeah. Is that they're checking what we've entered in with our transcripts. Yeah. But we entered the stuff in by looking at our transcripts. Yeah. So why can't we just send the transcripts?
Right, and why can't they have like an automatized like conversion thing, like it converts exactly what it's reading off your transcript, like computerized into your actual grades, right? And I think it's a future thing, right? Like it's definitely gonna happen at some point. It's just when, and this is interesting too. I was talking to someone else on the podcast that was talking about like hospitals, right? Like hospitals weren't founded for efficiency, right? They were founded because people needed care, and so they provided care, and then they're like, oh, like people are having heart problems, let's make a department to solve heart problems. Oh, people are having like respiratory problems, let's start a department for that. And it's like this like you're making it like step by step, like based on what you need, and you're not really thinking of it as like a cohesive system, and you don't really have that kind of time to do that, right? Like hospitals, or especially like modern hospitals, and he was a big like software guy, so he was talking about how like the digitization of healthcare was like, it only started in the early 2010s. Like that was when technology really got implemented into like hospitals, like electronic patient records, and how everything was run on electronics. So we're like, what, 10 years removed from that? And it's like, because we're so early from that phase two, we've been focusing more on like trying to get things done versus trying to get things done efficiently. You know? And so I feel like in time, like soon, we're gonna see a lot more focus on that efficiency aspect. But
I've been thinking, I'm a big subscriber to that school of thought that you should just sort of start with the fundamentals. You know, I wrote about this in my secondaries a lot. I think, you know, humans love to do this. What is someone else doing? What can I model my thing after? When you're building a hospital, you probably look at other hospitals. You know, and it's like, that's obviously practical. But, you know, maybe we should be looking at things like, what's the fundamentally best way to do something? Like, what's the most efficient way to give good care to as many people as possible? You know, the highest quality care to the highest number of people possible. And that's not at all what we do. We definitely just sort of add stuff on, create a new department, add another piece to the machine. But at some point, we're gonna have to make a new machine. You can't just keep adding wheels to the buggy. You need to invent a car eventually.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like a new mode. And it's interesting because hospitals, I think, are starting to focus on this a lot. And he was also mentioning how like a lot of hospitals are now developing these like committees to do these kind of things. Like think about, okay, what's an inconsistency that we can fix? For example, like there was he was talking about telemetry, right? And so like in hospitals they would put everyone on telemetry, and they would just connect everyone up, and then eventually when they actually need to connect someone to the monitor, they don't have any more monitors to connect people to. And it's like so people would just forget that they've already hooked someone up to a monitor. And then he was like, okay, we need to set basic markers in front of like patients' doors to say like, okay, this person is on a monitor, and so let's see like do they actually even need it. And then doctors started walking down the halls, and they're like, wait, this patient doesn't even need it, why do we even have him hooked up? And so just by looking at in the hallways, they were like able to determine that they didn't need things, and they started taking people off, and so that cut down costs, right? People that didn't needed unnecessary monitoring, and I think all these things that are going to become efficiencies that cut down. But I mean, this is the hospital example, right? And it's the same thing I think for applications, where like there's some schools, right? Like, and I'm sure we're doing a lot of research on schools. Like some schools are like very nice websites, like everything is like super detailed and like organized, and then some schools you're just like and it's not necessarily the ones you might expect. That's what I've noticed. You might think some of the more prestigious, like, technologically focused schools would have like a really nice website and stuff, but sometimes it's almost like kind of concerning. When I get on a website and I'm like, okay, does this like program have their stuff together? Or when you get secondaries that have typos in them. We're not going to mention names. We're not going to name names, but you know, if you like outright misspell something in your secondary, I'm like, I say that, and I've probably misspelled something in my essays, and they'll call me out on that. But I mean, they have their things, but it's interesting you bring up like the like websites and like the putting themselves out there. Like I think in these, I mean, with like social media and things like that coming, becoming more like popular and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think schools are going to start putting themselves out more on like platforms like this, right? And so it's like if you don't make your website better, if you don't improve your like presence online, it's like, yeah, you might be prestigious in all these different things, but like no one's gonna know about it, right? And I think there's like a change in focus with that too, where like people are realizing like, hey, we got to do this or we're gonna fall behind the curve. But
oh yeah, like with tour videos.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Why can't y'all put out tour videos?
Yeah, and
I want to see your medical school.
Yeah. We were talking about this actually. Tyler had the idea that we literally go out to medical schools and just do like literally like from the student perspective, talking to people, doing like a tour of the facilities, whatever, but again, talking to people majority wise, like how is this something that has not been done? Yeah, of course, like some schools have done it, but it's like the production quality isn't necessarily the best. It's just like, I don't know, it's like sometimes very generic, but
exactly. I'd say there's of the schools I'm applying to, there are maybe 2 with high quality tour videos. And like honestly 2. And most of them, there are no tour videos. And there are some that just have just low quality. I'm not talking like camera stuff necessarily. They just weren't thought out. They weren't and I just really want to see these schools, and there's literally no way to see it. And right now with the pandemic, like
you literally can't.
You can't go and schedule a tour.
And even this next year, like it's interesting because now that we, I guess, are in a safer place to have like in-person interviews, schools are still not wanting to do it because I guess they've realized how much easier it is to do it virtually. And I mean, maybe even next year they're going to do the same thing because it's way more easier. And so like, again, people aren't going to be going into campus to look at stuff as much because the process is all online. Like my perspective is like, yeah, it'd be cool to go see a school, but I'm not going to drop like $500 to go see a school that I might not even get into. Like I would wait until I get in there and then see it. And videos like that help. And schools have money, like I feel like they do. Maybe I'm wrong, but if like you have money to put into a lot of things, like a video cost, I don't know how much it would cost, but like a decent quality one, I think you could get for like $1,000 or something. And it would help thousands and tens of thousands of people.
We're making videos. We're broke.
Yeah, exactly. You just need like we got 3 cameras set up right here. But it's interesting too because like sometimes some schools, like the best ambassadors are the students themselves. You know, and there's so many students now that are making videos and like social media, whatever, about their school. And lots of the schools that I'm applying to, or some of them, like I've reached out to students at those schools that have put themselves online for advice and stuff. So that's also a cool thing that I think we're seeing a lot of. So I don't know.
Yeah, you've had a couple of them on the Medspectives podcast.
I have, yeah. Some people that I look up to, and some people. So it's been cool. It's definitely something I want to try in med school. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
maybe I will too.
Yeah, I've literally been telling you, man. You would kill it. You literally would kill it.
Need to work on my photography skills.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know any schools that are doing in-person interviews?
So I don't, and almost like none of the ones I've looked at have said that they're doing in person. Like it seems all virtual. But I was talking to Mr. Essman, the host of the All Access med school.
All Access Med School Admissions.
Yes,
from Case Western,
right? And you told me about that and connected me with him, and we had him on the podcast, and he was a great guy. And I talked to him. I asked him that exact question, and he was like, interviews are very important, and we've realized we've gotten a lot out of just doing virtual interviews, and the fact that people are able to attend them more easily, and people that might be like financially disadvantaged can easily, just call into an interview and you get basically the same stuff out of it. So, I mean, from his perspective, what he said was like, most likely not. Like, people aren't going to do it, and he was thinking about the future too. Like, maybe in the future too, we're not even going to do them because it's not necessarily needed. So.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. I also heard someone someone else, I can't remember exactly what school it was, but another research institution said that they just didn't think they were ever going to go back after this. I did talk to someone from the MSTP program at Chapel Hill, at UNC Chapel Hill, and they said they were planning, this is a couple months ago, and I think the attitude towards in-person interviews might have changed a bit.
Right, and MSTP is the physician research, like MD, PhD.
Exactly.
Program, right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like an 8-year program and it's fully funded. Right. So there's a little more of an excuse to meet you in person.
Yeah,
they have to spend 8 years with you and pay you. Yeah. I'm not applying to that, but I was talking to someone in that program, and she told me that they were planning on doing in-person ones. Yeah. But other than that, it seems like everyone's going to be virtual.
Yeah.
I'm interested because Kaiser Permanente has MMI rooms. I noticed on their
they do
on their excellent tour video.
Oh my god!
What are they going to use those for?
Kaiser, like I will say, is one of my dream schools. Like in terms of like focus and like you said, the video and like the campus is beautiful, right? Like we were talking about this. It's gorgeous. It's like beautiful. One of the like very recently built too, which we would be their second class if we were to matriculate. But. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful place, and I don't know why I cut you off, but I just wanted to say it's so great. It's such a great school.
It seems like a really good. It seems like a great school for people who are involved in like social media and want to be kind of at the forefront of the public eye and stuff. It seems like Kaiser has built like a robust infrastructure for people who want to be, sort of ambassadors between physicians and the public. And I think you'd be awesome at that. Because that's what we're doing right now, is bringing medicine to the people.
We are, and I mean, in this last year, and you've probably seen this too, is like, there's so many doctors out there on social media now, right? Yeah. It's awesome. It's an insane amount of people actually, where like, there are people talking about their journeys, talking about COVID information, and I've just been like super, super fascinated by this. Like it's like where, the mainstream media might have failed in COVID education or spreading information about that. It seems like individual doctors, individual nurses, individual people in these respective fields have filled that gap best that they could. And it's like questioned, like, what really is the role of a healthcare professional? Is it to just provide care? Or is it also to serve as like a ambassador of wellness? You know? It's like an evolving role.
Wellness ambassador.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like that. Especially on the primary care front.
Yes, exactly.
Medicine is, we obviously need more primary care physicians. And there's just not enough people going into that. And, instead of, I don't know, maybe there's a special place in primary care medicine for people who are interested in really connecting their community to wellness, especially with all the misinformation that's going around.
Exactly.
A reliable family physician that can sort of squash the myths and give back to their community that way.
Exactly. And I've been fascinated by this idea of like the availability heuristic, right? Like you depend on what you see to get your information. Yeah. And I don't think there's any better time to think about that than the pandemic, right? Like the people that take it seriously, or the people that don't, tend to be the people that didn't necessarily lose someone to it or see someone very affected by it, while like vice versa is true. And it's interesting because like these stories and this kind of ties back to the application too, right? Like why you want to write about stories but not just tell, because of that idea of connection, right? You connect to a story, not to a statement.
Yeah.
And it seems like that simple concept is so true in like life and in medicine in particular, because like if you want someone to take a treatment or go through the treatment, you need to instill within them why it affects them particularly, right? And the best way you can do that is tell a story about an example of someone or someone in a very similar situation as them that have gone through something like that. And the reason I bring this up is because social media has been able to do that for people, right? While in mainstream media, you mostly focus on like your big picture, like what are the CDC guidelines, what are the case numbers, what are these kind of things. Social media is where you can go and like tell stories about like, a physician watched like a patient pass away, right, or was unable to save a patient, or like a nurse talking about how traumatic it is to intubate a patient that is having trouble breathing. Like these things that you don't necessarily see it in these stories that I think affect you more deeply than like than just, I guess, statements. And social media enables people to do that, which is really cool. But
absolutely, I totally agree. Storytelling is a big part of medicine. I think that's becoming a main theme. I took a class that was basically like storytelling in medicine. It's just a literature class, but it was basically just writing and reading medical stories. But you and I are researchers, and we've sort of trained our brains to think numbers and percentages and fractions and just A plus B equals C kind of thinking. But like as humans, we're storytellers. We've been passing down stories for tens of thousands of years, and I think that's the way that people who like us who have trained our brains to be kind of more pragmatic. And it's difficult for me to tell stories. I want to, like when writing Secondaries, I want to go on July 17th I did this. July 18th I did this. This is how it affected me, and I'm done here. Yeah,
and so that's the thing. Like when I read your Secondaries, I'm like, I can see Tyler in this, but I know that someone that doesn't know Tyler wouldn't think this is necessarily like I wouldn't know the truth. Like I wouldn't know what to base my understanding of that off of. But like I know, like since I know you and the things that you've done, I read these statements with like such a different level of power. And like I can see him like literally saying this thing. And that's the annoying part, right? Like it's like you don't get to know them, and so you're so dependent, or we're all dependent on these like stories to do that, which is difficult.
This has got to be a lesson for everybody. It's like you want to get across who you are, and it's the exact same thing reading yours. Like I read something in yours, and I'm like because I know Arvind, I know that like this is totally genuine. This is totally real. It's not. He's not being arrogant at all. This is genuinely how he feels. But I think of it as like, if I'm reading this and I don't know him, I can see it a little bit different way.
Exactly.
I mean, I basically, I love medicine, and I poured my heart out in my personal statement. But if you don't know me, I could definitely see, even though I've submitted now, like I could definitely see someone thinking it's less than genuine. But hey, all you can do is be honest, right?
Yeah, honestly, and that's the thing with interviews that's so, I think, valuable. Is like if you can get your foot in the door in an interview, it's like you now have a chance to convey that, right? And we were talking, and it's cool that you get to do a virtual interview now, right? Because you're now in the comfort of your own home, and so you have control over your background. You can put like, and I think you were mentioning you're gonna put like some posters up or different.
Yeah, things. I mean, I've got medical posters all over my room anyway, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe show them an extra medical poster, so they know what I'm interested in.
Yeah, exactly, to show them like the true interest. So, I mean, that's your opportunity, I guess, to really convey yourself a lot better.
That's really funny. Hope they don't think that I like bought them for that. Like gonna let this guy. I was actually taking my headshot for the Columbia secondary yesterday, and I was like, I'd really like to wear a stethoscope, show my passion a little bit. I was advised against it, but I don't know. I really like medicine, so why not go full out medical?
Yeah, that's exactly true. And I don't know, it's an interesting process, right? We're seeing people like the age of people getting into medicine is increasing, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it's like people are becoming passionate about medicine at a younger age. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think so.
I was actually talking to someone the other day who he reached out. He was like, "Hey, I'm trying to start my own podcast about neuroscience." Right? I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
I like it.
Yeah. And he was like, "You want to talk? Like, can you talk? Give me some advice." And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And I went to his page and I saw like a graduation. So I was like, "Oh, we just graduated high school. That's so cool." I'm glad that he's picking up something early, right? And then I talked to him, and he was graduating 8th grade. Actually, he was going into 9th grade, and I was like, "Yo."
He was graduating middle school.
He was graduating middle school.
He has a middle school graduation date?
I guess so. I didn't personally, but I guess he did. But he was graduating middle school, and he had this, like, I guess, dying passion for neuroscience already at such a young age.
He's an 8th grader with a neuroscience podcast?
Exactly. Well, he was starting it, so he was asking for some advice, but he had already had, like, an interview with a neuroscientist, like, lined up. He was like, yeah, I'm, like, I have, next week, I have this on, like, a schedule with this meeting with him, and I was like, hey, yo, like, when I was 8th grade, like, I was, like, playing Minecraft on my computer, like, just
dude, I was just fishing.
Yeah.
I didn't care about anything else.
Exactly. It's, like, at the same time, it's, like, it's good, right? It's good people are getting passionate early.
Yeah.
And it's, like, interesting because it's good that people are getting passionate early. And I think about, like, why is it? Like, why are people getting so much passion earlier?
Yeah.
And I feel like it is tying to the social media aspect, right? Like, people are seeing stuff.
Totally agree.
Right? Like, when I was that age, I didn't have, like, exposure to medicine. But now, like, people are on social media very early, and there's just so many people pumping information out about what they're doing. Like, I'm really fascinated by people like that. Like, there's this neurosurgeon I'm following. He'll literally post his cases on Instagram, like, just, like, pictures and stuff, and, like, he'll play it's funny because he has, like, some hip-hop, like, song playing over it, so, like, you hear, like, a Dr. Dre song, like, he's, like, cussing profanity, like, profanely in the background while you're, like, trying to look at this brain scan. It's just funny, but it's like there's so much, like, accessibility to medicine now where, like, people are getting really interested early.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because, like, it's kind of annoying for people like us that have been passionate about medicine pretty early on to have to go through 4 years of undergrad and then only start medical school, which it's like, yeah, we understand that if that's the process, but it's like, why can't you do it earlier, right? Why can't you matriculate to medical school at, like, 20? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I was very close to just moving to the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and because that's where my family's from.
Yeah.
And just getting at it, you
Yeah.
know, because I wanted to be a doctor. I wasn't interested in anything I was learning in school, and so I agree. But at the same time, and I do know a good number of British medical students and things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain level of emotional maturity that's needed, that's absolutely required for medicine.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not sure that when I was a senior in high school, I had that.
Yeah.
You know? And also, especially if you're trying to be an academic scientist, like, nothing compares to having a 4-year science education.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, gosh, I feel like I've learned so much in undergrad. Like, the science I had in high school just would not be enough for medical school. Yeah. You know, in the UK it's a little bit longer. It's 5 years normally, but still, I agree that, like, I definitely wish I could have had a little more of a jump start on it.
Yeah.
But the maturity thing, like, would we be ready in high school?
That's a good point.
I wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I'm curious, is there, like, any kind of, like, scientific study or something comparing US doctors to maybe, like, UK doctors in, like, an emotional readiness state, you know? Like, maybe like a third-year med student in, like, a British med school. And because, like, of course, your first 2 years, I feel like you're going to be pretty, like, because you're right out of high school. Yeah. But maybe by your third year, you've developed, like, maybe some, like, emotional intelligence because you've been around this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
But you compare a third-year medical student in the UK and in the US, like, how do they differ, right?
Yeah.
Because there would be an age difference for sure, but is there, like, an emotional difference? Are they, like, is there capability difference? I don't know. I think that would be an interesting thing to say.
Yeah. I wonder if someone's done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the British medical students I know are mature.
Yeah.
In general. You know, I've definitely met med students in both groups that, you know, maybe aren't.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, no, I would like to see that. I would like to see that study. I mean, there is just definitely an age difference.
Yeah.
There also, doctoring is different in the two countries, I think.
What do you mean?
I mean, like being a physician is a very different thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think here also they're making a lot of programs, like, for primary care. Like, it's like a 3-year med school program instead of, like, 4 years. Some schools are doing, like, an accelerated thing, which I think is also cool. because there is a huge shortage, and that, I mean, if they can get more primary care doctors out there quicker, I mean, that's great, you know. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think there's a lot being done there too. So
yeah, our mutual undergrad institution, one of the best primary care producers. Yeah, gotta love ECU.
Yeah, Brody School of Medicine. Yeah, their secondaries they're okay. They're a little aggravating.
They're nice. Are you okay? Here's a secondary question. Mm-hmm. Do you prefer the really long ones or the really short ones? Like when you get a word limit, is it 1,000 words or 250?
What I've learned from this application process is that I'll find a way to complain regardless. Like I will, that's the thing. Like I complain about this stuff on the daily to anyone I talk to, and I don't know. It just, when it's a short essay, I'm like, dang, I wish I had some more characters to write about, you know, to elaborate on stuff.
Yeah.
When it's long, I'm like, oh my god, I got to write a lot of stuff, and then it's like, I just can't find like a happy. I don't like either. I guess. I mean,
in the middle is nice.
Yeah, in the middle is nice. It's interesting. Like, what if there was no word count?
No word count? Just unlimited?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of COVID essays.
Yeah,
that are like that, which is good. I mean, I think I'm not sure who I heard say this. It was some admissions person said like the word counts are there because if we don't put one, you'll never stop.
That's the thing, right? And I feel like some people will just write like a couple pages.
So when I see like a 500 word count, mm-hmm. and I feel like I can get my message across in 250, mm-hmm. there's a little bit of a voice that says like, you need to write more. Like you can tell me more. Yeah. But at the same time, if I've got my message across, maybe I should just stop.
Yeah. Saves them time. They appreciate it.
Yeah. I don't want to waste their time. Yeah. I'm definitely not going to put in something just to fill up a word count. Yeah. You know, I just want to fill it with good information. Yeah. At the same time, you don't want to have 3 sentences. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I want to be a doctor. Please.
Yeah, just believe me.
Yeah, believe me. Believe me.
We've wanted this for so long. Everyone that ever has met us knows how much we want it.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing.
It sucks. It just sucks. It's like, why do you want to be a doctor? Well, I want to help people, but I can't tell you that, can I? Like, I like science, but you don't want to know that, right?
Yeah. It's obvious.
Yeah, it really is, but you can't tell them that. But yeah, it's been a good couple weeks. I'm excited to be done with it.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
What's next for me?
You've got a couple secondaries you're working on.
Yeah. And I find every way I can to procrastinate. But what I've heard is you want to submit your secondary within 2 weeks of receiving it, right? Like to be safe. Some schools are very strict about it. Like they're like, yeah, we want you to submit it within 2 weeks.
Really?
I think it was Case Western explicitly said like, do your best to submit within 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Or your chances will be like for your best, like for the best chances of getting interviews, please submit your secondary within 2 weeks. They said that like exactly in the
Interesting.
And the thing, which I appreciated, like they were very explicit with it, but some schools don't say it.
Interesting.
So as like a safety precaution, like I'm doing the 2 week thing, like to show that like I'm at least care about the schools. But I think that's another thing to research is like research how much work a school secondary application is before you apply there. Like Virginia Tech, for example, right? It's a very small school. It's like, what, 50 seats? Something like that?
Yeah.
Right? And there are 4 essay prompts or 5 essay prompts of like 500 words each, some of which are particular to the school itself. And so like if you don't actually vibe with the school that much or you're not like super passionate about it, don't apply. You know, you're better off paying that money to apply to a school that you have time to complete well. And so it's, you got to think about that as an aspect of your application too, is like you need to follow through with it too in the secondary sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the med schools have really just surprised me.
Yeah, they changed up. Yeah.
I mean, secondaries are a full-time job. Yeah. Like if you're applying to the average number of schools, 70 to 24 schools, then that if you're doing that in 2 weeks, that's full-time. Yeah. I think. If you're going to write well, maybe you're a much better writer than I am and you can just do it quicker. Yeah. But for me, that's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
And even pre-writing, I have just been booked with secondaries.
I didn't pre-write at all, man. Like, I told myself I would. As soon as I turned in that primary, I was out for like 3 weeks until these secondaries came in. But it's all right. We'll get through it. We just gotta complain while we're doing it, and
just just to each other.
Yeah.
Try to bother as little people as possible.
Yeah, but
at the same time, you know what? If we're gonna complain about it, we can also mention that like the secondaries do make us reflect. On our lives and our experiences, and it is kind of enriching.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing with the MCAT, right? It's obviously like like a brutal experience studying for the MCAT, especially if you don't have that much time. But at the same time, you learn so much about the world.
Yeah.
About,
No, the MCAT I feel like was the biggest test, like academic test of my life, right? Like in the sense where like I had to push, a lot of times where some people don't try way too much in class, can cram the night before and be decently fine, or a couple days into it. And sometimes I was that student, right? I would just cram a couple days before and things would work out relatively well.
Yeah.
The MCAT, you can't do that, right?
No.
You can't procrastinate. You cannot, or else you're not going to do well. Period.
You
You
need months.
need months, right? And so it's like, you have no other option. And so you got to really dig down, like, okay, do I want this? Do I really want this? Like, am I willing to throw everything else away and just sit down? And Tyler, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you want to talk about what you did to study? Like,
I went in basically to a cabin in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And just locked myself in for 2 months.
Yeah.
Which is not enough time to study for the MCAT.
Yeah.
Like you should, like I did fine, but
the mental state.
Don't do 2 months. You need more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And spread it out a little more. That's just the only thing I could do between my other obligations. I had a 2-month break where I could study for it. But yeah, I mean, I missed hanging out. I missed some birthdays. I missed I missed Thanksgiving and I couldn't really see my family anyway because they're kind of spread out and there's a pandemic. But yeah, I mean, I spent Christmas and Thanksgiving just like in a MCAT book, But yeah, it's an intense experience.
It is.
But like the point is like it makes you contemplate how much you want it. The MCAT's really hard.
Yeah. And the MCAT is really important.
The MCAT is hard. The MCAT is really important. So what's the guy say?
The MCAT is hard and the MCAT is important. And to do well on this exam, it matters not how much you prep,
but also how you prep.
Oh man, I can't believe I forgot.
Yeah, how could we? I've heard that guy's voice so many times. I finally figured out how to block the ad. But yeah, you don't know how?
No. Okay, this will be valuable information.
Yeah, I'll show you later.
Okay.
I'll show you later. I would just Google it.
Yeah.
But gosh, I heard that one ad. Yeah. If you're studying for the MCAT, for some reason you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that one ad, that one test prep ad.
Gotta love them.
I could not escape every other YouTube video I watched for 2 months. I just heard that until I figured out how to block the video. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Well, I can't believe we're here, man. Like, it feels just like yesterday when we were it was like study hall or something, right? I asked you a physics question, and you're like, I don't know.
I still remember the physics question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a calculus-based gravity question.
Okay. Yeah.
From physics.
No, but you're like, nope.
I didn't know it.
Darn. Okay. But here we are now. Done with all that stuff. Done with the MCAT.
MCAT's done. Primary's done. Personal statement's done.
Yeah.
Just one last step.
Yeah.
Well, two steps left.
Yeah.
We got secondaries, interview.
It's like we're always working for something. It's interesting though. Like you get the next thing, and you're like, what's the next thing you got to do? What's the next thing? But it's satisfying too. Like I can't say that I hate this process because, like you said, it's reflection, and reflection is always important.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see, man.
Yeah, it's definitely made me realize like sometimes. I think a lot of pre-meds we do like this has been talked about so much, the whole imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a friend and they were like, it was like, talk about your greatest accomplishment. And my knee-jerk reaction was like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, you did this.
Yeah.
You led pre-med club, you've
Yeah.
done research, you've got a host of accomplishments too, and it's like, wow, by reflecting on these things, on talking about our experiences, you gotta get to realize, hey, we put in some work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got somewhere.
We really put in some work. We did good things. We made positive changes in our community,
Yeah.
And, that's kind of that's totally its own reward. That's as rewarding as the whole process.
I definitely agree, man. It's definitely a big learning process, and good time to reflect before the next stage of life, or not life, but like, well, I guess, next stage of life, next stage of education,
Before the admissions committees decide where in the world we're going to go.
Yeah, who knows? There was this doctor I was talking about. We probably been talking for a long time, so we'll close out in a bit, but he was talking about how when he was in medical school back in, it was a while ago, maybe like the 70s or 80s, I think. Mm-hmm. He and his friends lived together, like 8 friends lived together in this big house, all medical students, and they would do like med school trivia nights to study for the exam. Imagine how much fun that would be.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna do that.
I want to do that, dude.
Wherever we go to med school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be so much fun, and that's what I think most excited about in medical school, is being surrounded by people that are like are doing the exact same schooling as you, but have such different like goals in life, in the same realm of medicine. So, yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I can just imagine us listening to this like in medical school, like, oh my god, guys, shut up, like, it's not that great, like.
Yeah, it definitely seems like medical school has a way of hardening medical students, but I mean, medicine is interesting.
Yeah,
it is. You get to learn. I mean, we're the lifelong learners. We want to understand the world, see the world in a clear way, and that'll never get old.
Yeah, for sure.
You might lose sleep, but it'll never get old.
It'll never get old. Just keep learning, man. Keep learning. But yeah, we'll wrap up the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is kind of just completely unscripted, really. We just started talking, and I think we covered a lot of different stuff. So hopefully this was interesting. Found that you got something out of it. But again, thank you so much for listening.
Yep. This is what it's like to be a pre-med applying.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to us talk.
Thank you. I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation, and thank you so much for listening. If you love Medspectives, be sure to follow us on Spotify, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, and share this podcast with your friends. It really helps us grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Monday.